Here on this channel, we are no stranger to cleaner, greener, safer and smarter transportation. But for the most part, we focused on cars and motorcycles. And we've had lots of people reach out and ask us why we haven't been focusing on other forms of cleaner, greener, safer and smarter transportation, namely bicycles. Well, I guess we finally are. Now, for those who are interested, the RadCity is part of a whole range of electric bikes made by Rad Power Bikes. This one is designed to be the kind of a commuter bike. There is a compact model, like a foldable one, and there is a fat bike, which if I was going to buy one, I think I'd probably buy the fat bike, and that's only because I like fat bikes. But of course, for daily commuting, you want something a little bit more conventional, and this is where this bike comes in. It's got a 7-speed Shimano rear set, and it's been geared primarily for electric bike use. Obviously, because you've got that electric motor helping you out, you don't need it to be geared the same as you would if it was just a bicycle. And so the top gear is actually a really high gear ratio, because at that point, most of the time you're going to be riding with assistance from the motor. The low gear is really nice and low, and it's one of the reasons why I've been able to ride up this massive 1,000-foot hill every day to and from work. It really has been really super helpful. So while we're sat here at the lights, let's talk about the 6 different operational modes that this bicycle has. It goes from 0, which is no assistance at all the way up. So here you can see it says no assistance, it's 0, all the way up to 5, which is the speed setting. And in the middle, you've got setting number 1 is just the very minor assistance. Eco is mode 2, standard is mode 3, power is mode 4, and speed is mode 5. So one of the things I really like about the Rad Power Bike range is that it's got an integrated bell in the left-hand handlebar set, which is really nice, by the brake lever essentially. And then on the left, you've got your mode selector. And on the right, you've got your standard gear selector, which is what you just heard clicking there. Your brake levers, of course, for the front and back brakes, the way you'd expect them to be. So when you're riding in traffic like this, I tend to keep the throttle mode on. There's a little button down by my right thumb that enables you to turn a throttle, a bit like one of those twist grip gear shifters on some bikes. And it allows you to dial in some assistance without actually pedaling. Now, in normal operational mode, you have to start pedaling before the bike kicks power in. But when you use the throttle mode, it will just start moving on its own, giving as much power as you've dialed in on the throttle. So this is the top end of Lovejoy, which gets pretty steep, actually. And so I'm going to go down through my gears. Now, the gears on this bike are really wide and varied. So you've got a nice high gear for cruising at the top end, and then you've got a really nice sort of low speed gear that helps you when you're going up a bit of a steeper hill. So the ordering process for Rad Power Bikes is really stupidly easy. Although I've got this on review and I didn't pay any money for it, and it's going back at the end of the review period, I was walked through the ordering process as if I was a paying customer. And it's really simple. Now, Rad Power Bikes are actually based in Seattle, so they're not too far from me. Everything you order online, just like a Tesla. The process is really very simple. You pick the bike you want. They ask you what size frame you want. In the case of the RadCity, there's 2 different frame sizes. If you are a normal height and build, you have the one that I'm riding. If you're a little bit taller, you know, you're 6+, then you might opt for the larger frame. Unlike a lot of electric bicycles on the market, the RadCity, just like the rest of the Rad power bike range, has suspension on the front forks, which is adjustable, which is a really nice feature. So you can have a really soft ride, really soft suspension, or you can have a really firm ride. And if you've visited Portland lately, you'll know that the Portland roads are not necessarily the smoothest. And that front suspension really does help smooth out some of the nasty kinks and bumps that you hit. This bike produces 750 watts of peak power. If you try and use 750 watts continuously, then it will drain the battery. It'll give you some voltage sag pretty quickly. But if you're wanting to regenerate and you have to squeeze the back brake, it doesn't work with the front brake, then it will apply somewhere between 250 and 300 watts of regenerative braking. Now, I'm not actually regenerative braking right now. I'm freewheeling because it's a little bit more efficient for me to do that. And I'm enjoying the fact that I'm going downhill at, 25 miles an hour, 26 miles an hour now. So while we're talking about the brakes, the RadCity has front disc brakes and rear disc brakes. They're very good. They're very good quality brakes. They stop you really well. Obviously, you're going to need that because you are carrying some extra weight on the bike. The bike is heavier than your standard, your standard touring bicycle or standard commuter bicycle. And so you need to have that extra brake power to ensure that you can stop when you need to. And, right now I'm doing 27 miles per hour downhill, and I don't have any concerns about losing, braking and going over the handlebars or anything. And I'm going downhill too fast again on freewheel to actually be able to need to cycle, to need to actually use the pedals. But now I've got a little incline, and the bike's helping me to the tune of about 450 watts, and I'm using my pedals as well, and we're doing about just under 20 miles an hour, which is really nice. It's a confident speed. It's certainly not the speed that I would be riding at if I was riding using just me as the main propulsion. And the thing I like about this all is that it actually gives me a little bit more confidence about riding, because I'm not feeling like I'm holding people up. I'm not feeling like I'm being dangerous. I'm feeling really confident about my cycling. I'm keeping up with traffic, especially in town. And people are less likely to try and go around me and do something stupid. Now, the frame on this bike is incredibly well built. You get the bike in a crate and you have to assemble it yourself. But Rad Power bikes ship it with a special protector for the front forks to make sure that you don't damage the forks in transit. You have to install the front wheel yourself, but it's a quick release front wheel. And quick release front wheels are generally pretty easy to put in. And because it's a disc brake system, it's really super easy just to slot it in and it's ready to go. You need a little manual adjustment, but you're fine. You have to put the front mudguard on, or the front fender if you want to call it that. The light on the 2019 model year bikes are integrated. So the front light and the rear light are fully integrated. Plus, and this is a really cool feature, there's a brake light function. So if I need to slow down and I apply either the front or the rear brake, it makes my rear light glow a little bit more brightly, like a brake light, which is a lovely, lovely feature. I think it's fantastic. So one of the reasons why I really like this bike is because it gives me that extra speed to give me another option to get to work in the morning. So for those who don't know, I live in a city called Hillsborough. And Hillsborough and Portland, between my house and Portland, it's about a 15-mile round trip, maybe 16 by the freeway. And the main road that I use to go from my office to my house and vice versa is Highway 26, sometimes known as the Sunset Highway. And 26 gets pretty gnarled up in the mornings. As we go over, I'll see if I can give you an idea of how slowly the traffic moves. But it is currently about 39 minutes, according to the timer on the GoPro, since I left the studio. And I actually turned the camera on for a few minutes before I left. So it hasn't even been 40 minutes since I left the office. And I'm in Beaverton, which is the city next door to Hillsborough. So here we go. I'm going to try and look that way. You see the traffic? It is really nasty. It's like this in the morning, sometimes even worse. So let's talk about the benefits. You know, it's helped my health. I already feel healthier, even after like 2 or 3 weeks of riding to work. I already feel a lot healthier. In addition, my mental health has improved because I've got out and about and I'm exercising, and exercising produces extra endorphins, which are like the body's antidepressants. And I do suffer from depression, so actually I've noticed that I've suffered less depression while I've been riding to work, which has been fantastic. And obviously the time, as I've detailed, it's not a lot longer than peak rush hour for me to cycle. Maybe a little, maybe 10 minutes. But really 10 minutes being out in weather like this versus being stuck in my car looking at somebody else's bumper is, you know, it's no competition. So let's talk about the energy. Now we've talked about all those other things. For me to ride to work on this bicycle uses, I think, about 1/3 of a kilowatt hour of electricity. And here's the reason why. This bicycle has a 14 amp hour, 48 volt battery pack. Now, that equates to about 0.6, 0.7 kilowatt hours. You know, I'm averaging, on my work commute, especially in the winter, you know, I'm averaging maybe 2.5 to 3 miles per kilowatt hour. So what's that? It's 15 miles. So yeah, about 6-7 kilowatt hours for a round trip to 10, depending on the weather conditions and everything else. So that's phenomenal. It's a far more efficient way of me getting to work. Would I buy one? I think I probably would, but I'm moving to about 25 miles out of Portland. And while I think this bike could do it, that would be a long-ass commute. So that's my time with the RadCity power bike. I've really enjoyed the last month or so, although I haven't been able to ride every single day because Portland had some unseasonably cold weather, which meant ice and snow, and I didn't really want to ride when it was that cold and dangerous outside. But on the days where I have been able to ride, it's felt phenomenal. I used to be a really keen cyclist. I used to easily cycle 50 miles a day. When I left university, I didn't even have a driving license, and it was the only way that I could get around. The RadCity power bike has enabled me to rekindle my love of cycling. Being able to climb the 1,000-foot hill that lies between my office and my home with relative ease has been transformative. Sure, I have cycled home before on a regular bicycle, and yes, it nearly killed me in the process, but with the extra 750 watts of power that this bicycle offers, I'm able to climb the hill at sensible speeds. I'm able to get home in less than an hour, and I feel better for it. Don't get me wrong, having an electric bicycle doesn't mean that you get to sit back and do nothing. You have to work too, especially when climbing that massive 1,000-foot hill. But with the electric assist that the RadCity power bike offers, it feels far more achievable. I'm more likely to want to jump on this and ride it than I would a regular bicycle. And even when there's a strong headwind and I'm cycling uphill both ways in the rain, well, it's still a pleasurable experience. I've not run the battery flat yet. I've been able to ride more than 40 miles on a single charge. And while there is some voltage sag in this bicycle, I've been very impressed with it. The battery is lightweight, sure. I have to carry it upstairs to my studio every time I get to work, but it's manageable. It's heavier than a regular bike, and yes, you will notice that extra weight if you have to pedal the bicycle with no power assist. I've tried that a couple of times just to see how it felt. But everything fits very nicely under my hands. I've got the ability to give myself a little bit of a kickstart on hills by turning on the throttle mode and then switching back to power assist when I get going. The integrated light and brake light are phenomenal. I love them. I don't have to worry about running out of batteries. I don't have to worry about losing my lights because they're integrated on the bicycle. The rack is sturdy, and for $1,500 or just under, this is the cheapest electric vehicle that I can think of to get you healthier and get you leaving your car at home. Since most people commute less than 20 miles to work, this bicycle could very easily help you leave your car at home, especially if you live in a city like Portland, where cycling is generally considered to be pretty safe, where drivers are aware of cyclists, and where there are numerous cycle paths for you all to enjoy. Would I own one myself? Yeah, I probably would. This is a bicycle that I think I could use on a daily basis. I've covered just under 100 miles on this bike so far, and I've been thoroughly impressed. But if you want one for yourself, head to radpowerbikes.com. You can find more information in the description below. That's it. As always, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Tell me about your electric bike experiences. Support the show through Patreon, Ko-fi or our swag shop. I'll be back soon with more content, but until then, keep evolving.